Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest needs no introduction. Sergio Oliva Jr. joining us all the way from Australia. How are you, Sergio?
I'm good. As good as I
Now,
can.
yeah, what's going on over there? What's the situation where you are near Sydney, Australia?
Man, it's really not that bad.
Hmm.
And I'm really thankful. I've been trying to stay off of social media and the news and stuff like that, and even watching people's stories. But whenever I do watch, it is just such a shitstorm back in the States that it only makes me then even more grateful that it's really kind of non-existent here. And they're really crazy about how they handle things in general anyway. I don't know if anyone's ever traveled to Australia, but they are nuts about bringing anything in, foods, animals, supplements. So they're crazy lockdown when it comes to the virus. But at the same time, they're like not savages.
Hmm.
And the grocery stores are filled. No one's attacking anyone. There's plenty of toilet paper. So if anything, I'm in the right spot, and I'm actually gonna stay. Is what I'm gonna do.
Really? I was going to ask you because I know it's hard to fly anywhere now. There's a lot of travel bans, but if you wanted to come back tomorrow, could you or no?
I was just talking with Cormier, and so for us to come back, we would have to lose our credits of our plane here. So you would lose the couple grand that we spent. So even if you wanted to spend that, there's like a 5 stop flight for like 5 grand that only one airline's doing, and I think I heard that ends after Monday. So I would have to leave today.
Wow.
But but the gym that I go to in San Diego is closed, and I don't know if anyone who follows you follows that gym, but they got raided because they are a real bodybuilder gym. They said, "F the government, we're going to stay open," and they literally sent 3 or 4 squad cars into the gym. Had all the people coming out. They were on the news in San Diego because didn't want to close down, and so either way,
God.
they're definitely not opening back up. So they're going to be closed for the time being. They've been told that they're going to lose their license. The gym will be shut down for good if they let anyone in. So I would literally be leaving this paradise to go back to not work out, and I unfortunately I can't make that decision.
Yeah, that's the gym called the gym we're talking about, right? In San Diego?
Yeah, it's very clever.
Yeah, but how long? So how long were they letting? They were obviously because some gyms here were getting away with it for a while. They locked everything down here. I'm in Massachusetts, but they were allowing appointments, so you could have like a 45 or a 60-minute appointment. You would have to make a day or two or three ahead of time where they would let 10, 15 people in the gym. So a few gyms were trying to be sly and get away with it that way, but the gym in San Diego, they were just like, screw it, everybody come on, get your workouts.
Which is stupid because that's how they got busted. I was messaging people and I'm like, man, how did you find out? Did someone rat them out? No, the fucking parking lot is packed to the brim. So
Yeah,
there's
cops aren't that stupid, guys. They're not.
uh, but it just sucks because I feel so bad for like Eddie Brockamane and there's a bunch of other pros in that gym that literally need that gym to pay their bills. And
Right.
now because we let a bunch of board short losers in and they are snapping it and doing selfies in the mirror, not even probably working out, it ruined it for everybody.
Man.
So unfortunately, that gym's closed down, and Gold's has been closed down even before them. So
Right.
there's no gyms in California for me to even train at. So
So what
it's
do
easy.
you went over there with the intention of staying for how long?
Well, so that's what I was telling everybody. So I had got word that the Arnold was possibly going to be canceled before I got on a plane. It was actually the day before, but I had already had it planned that I was going to go on a holiday to where I'm at now, which is Queensland.
Yeah.
It's like the Miami of Australia. So to explain to people that have never been to Australia, where the Arnold is held is Melbourne, Australia. That's like a Chicago, New York. It's very city-like. It's very metropolitan area. So it's very nice, but it is not a vacation spot at all. And I've been coming here, as people know, since my wife. For this is my 9th time. I've never actually checked out the Great Barrier Reef and the beaches of Australia. So I had already told my family we're gonna go, we're gonna kill that Arnold, and after that we're gonna go on a holiday to Queensland. So we already had this plan and we already had it booked. But then we got word that the Arnold might be canceled. So we still got on the flight anyway because no matter what, I have friends in Melbourne and I have a bunch of connections that I've met with going back there. And then there was no way I was going to miss this vacation because I really needed it. The disappointment of not being able to do the Arnold was rough. It was really weird. I've never been dieting before, and then it just kind of like was done. You know, there's no finish line to cross over. There was nothing I accomplished, even doing bad. You know, even if you bomb out and you do shitty, you still have accomplished something. I just feel so bad for all the people that never got to do a show. You know, there's so many, like Blessing, and there's so many people that was going to be their first show. Nathan, man, you know, people talk shit about Nathan, and people try to make it like a rivalry between us and stuff like that. But Nathan's a really good guy, and I also know how it feels that when you're kind of being looked at as like maybe you're not your best, and then you know you're about to make a sick comeback and you're about to destroy a lot of people. And I really feel like Nathan was about to do that in Australia, and he didn't get that chance either. So I'm just so thankful that I was able to do Ohio, because can you imagine running the Boston Marathon and right before you cross the finish line, they're like, race is canceled. Like, what?
Yeah, well,
So, but again, like I say in all the speeches I keep doing, you know, and the appearances I'm doing, we need to remind ourselves as bodybuilders, this is the least bad things happening in the world. And, you know, you spending that time and money on a prep is nothing compared to people now losing their homes and their lives. So,
absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, when you say you're staying there, is it until further notice or what?
well, now, right, exactly. Except for that one flight that I would have to get on now to go back, I'm not going to be able to come back. So that makes that decision easy anyway. But no, I'm not going to come back until the gym's open. There's no reason, because even here, there's gyms that I can train at. I just finished training right now, and that alone is worth staying. I miss my dog. She's back home, but luckily my best friend's mom is watching her, so it's like two family members taking care of each other, and she's staying at our place in San Diego, so it's nice that she's at home and stuff like that. But literally, besides my dog, there's no reason for me to come back to the States.
Wow. So, but you know, you must. Hopefully, you took enough clothes and everything that you know your favorite pair of jeans, favorite tank top, favorite all this and that. Because I'd be missing all that stuff. Like shit.
Yeah, no, we were planning to be here for 3 weeks anyway, so I got all my
Oh,
shit.
okay.
I'm good
Okay.
to go.
I want to talk about the Arnold before before it becomes such old news that everyone's like, oh, come on, the Arnold. So yeah, because I haven't talked to you since then. The last time
Yeah,
we talked.
I haven't talked to anybody since the
Oh,
Arnold,
good.
so this is my first time even talking about it.
Now I don't feel bad that it's 2:15 a.m., which leads me to ask, what does the future hold? Because I know it's like next week over there. But
Yeah, right, exactly.
stupid question. So the Arnold Classic. First of all, I saw major improvements for sure. Major improvements, thickness. I saw areas I wanted to come up on you. Some, you know, you're one of those guys. I'm like, I pick you apart because you know I know what the potential is. I know what you're gonna look like eventually, and I'm just like dying. Like, hurry up and get there, guy. Hurry up. But overall, the look that you brought to the show, I want to know how you felt about it. First of all.
Yeah, I was probably going to start next week. I was going to start posting pictures because, as people know, I didn't post any progress pictures at all. So now that the
Right.
show's on and how it's looking like, God knows what's going to happen for the rest of the year. I might as well post all those pictures up leading to the show. So I actually looked a little bit better. And this is we nailed the conditioning, we nailed the dryness and all that. But still, I'm still having a tough time when I start to drop water, still keeping a back and a chest. It is like the first to go. It's so weird. And it's just one of those things where 2 days out, my back was the best it's ever looked in my entire life. And then that extra day and a half where I dried out a little bit more and then try to get a quick pump backstage while also having digestive issues. So I always have some kind of digestive issues. And this has been the best. Luckily, with Cormier being there and Aceto being there, I didn't have digestive issues from stress, because I usually have them from stress, anxiety, water depletion, and all the things that come with it. This time it was just the water depletion. So it wasn't as bad, but me trying to use now sugars and cakes and stuff to carb up backstage, my body just doesn't really digest it as fast. I would almost had to have eaten it a couple hours before. So that's why I looked like I was a little bit fuller at the night show, but I was way drier and harder in the prejudging. So to answer your question, no, I actually looked better the day before. And I mean, that's what everybody says, right? I look better day before, day after.
Well, usually day after they say, but
Yeah. So I was definitely had a back because my back was disappeared the day of the show. So luckily, because I had taken a year off and I had made it so much better, even losing that amount, it still was better than it was 2 years ago. So thankfully, we did the work in the off season. But no, I was better the day before, and I even told Aceto too. Like, man, if we had just got on the night before, it would have been sick. And I'll post those pictures too. But still, We did what we wanted to do, and it was very scary in the prejudging. I have never felt like that before, where I'm literally looking around like, man, am I not who I think I am? You know, did I not make the improvements I thought? I'm literally looking at a couple saggy asses in front of me in that first call out, and I'm like, man, even if I don't have the right recognition of myself, I know that these guys aren't their best. I know Cedric wasn't his best. I know never in Akeem's life is he better than me. I know that Kuklo was just a little bit better. And I'm standing there like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm not in this first call out. But luckily, because bodybuilding shows like the Arnold and the Olympia are judged in 2 days, and they're also judged the full prejudging, not just that first call out. And that means that I came out in the second call out, and that means that I was so good looking that they were like, let's do it again. And then that's when they did this first slash second call out. It was kind of like in between. And then that's when they brought me, Cedric, Kuklo, and Akeem back out. And I think that's when I destroyed that lineup, besides Kuklo, that they moved me up, because at that point I was fighting for eighth.
I'm curious, did you see the judging? I didn't really analyze the sheets, but were you a certain place after day one and you made up all the points on day two?
Yeah.
Were you like in eighth place after day one?
Well, not day two. They
Not
changed
day
it.
one. It's a 1 day show. What am I saying?
No, but it
But
used to
after
be. It used to be. You're right, because I was so excited. A year before, I'm like, I'm finally going to do a show that I can compete at night and then compete at night. That's my best. It's when I have to compete in the morning is when I get fucked. That's why New York Pro, I looked at my best because I went on at like 9 o'clock at night. I tried to explain that to people at a post after Chicago, and it's too above their head. But I was excited that I thought the Arnold was going to be a 2 day, but no, they switched it to the morning. So to answer your question, I was battling for seventh after prejudging, which, Ron, man, if I would have taken 2 years off and made 12 pounds of a difference and then got seventh or eighth, man, I don't know. I would have like lost it. I would have just lost all of my like, I don't even know how to describe it. And I see a lot of bodybuilders who just like quit. And it would have just made me think that, man, you know what? This isn't for me, because I just took 2 years off and I lost to Akeem. No way. That would have been the end of my career. No way. Because but luckily, right, the judges the judges weren't judging it like an amateur show. Like, we got to just get through it. We got to get to the amateurs. That's the best part, is that the amateurs are judged completely separate. Where at most shows, they go on right after us. So they still know that they have 5 hours of these amateurs. No matter what, you're a human being. You want to kind of go through it a little bit faster so you're not there till midnight. And people don't understand that. But at the Arnold, no, they were going to work it until they got it right. And they did. And that one last call out gave me hope leaving the prejudging. Like, I still never stood next to Kuklo. And that bothered me, because if you're now saying that I'm fifth, I should stand next to fourth. So I left prejudging like, man, you know what? I think I got Cedric. I definitely got Akeem, but I never stood next to Kuklo. And I even told Aceto that was bothering me, because I've heard horror stories in the sport where someone got one place and the other one got another, and they never stood next to each other.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
You just get lost in the shuffle. And I tell everybody who thinks they're a judge in the sport, you should test judge. Do a test judge. I did that one time, and I learned, holy shit, that shit is so fucking hard. It's so fast.
It does.
So I know how it works, and sometimes you get lost in the shuffle. But I never stood next to him, so I was very upset. And then at the night show, they brought us out one more time. It didn't even matter, Ron. If they moved me in front of him or not. I was just so happy that I got my just deserve, and I got a chance to stand next to Kuklo, and I didn't beat him, but it still showed everyone else that was what we looked like next to each other. And I'll take those pictures all day. So I was battling for seventh, to answer your question, which is crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of your fans were saying you should have been ahead of Kuklo, and you can certainly make the argument. I think the top three was very solid top three. Rami, Dexter, and Bonac were definitely the top three. Nobody was cracking that. So guys, you could, if you guys had flip flopped, the only people I think that would have been deeply upset had it been you ahead of him would have been his fans. Where right now your fans are probably the only ones who are really that upset, because you guys both have different physiques, and you can argue this I should have beat you, you should have beat me all day long. One thing I'm curious, that was probably the only show you've ever done since you started competing years ago where there was no audience at the judging. It was just the judges and I don't know, a couple family members, coaches, some media. It was dead in there. It was, there was music going, but otherwise you would have been able to hear crickets. Was it, because I know everybody feeds off the energy from the crowd and the cheering and everything. Was it really bizarre for you to be at the Arnold Classic being judged with the top pros in the world and there's no audience out there in front of you?
Man, it was so wild. You come out and there's just nothing. And you almost feel like you're doing something wrong because like if you're not getting cheers, yeah, it's because you look like shit. So now you just have to tell yourself, no, there's just nobody in the crowd. But actually, no, I loved it. It was actually my favorite part because I could hear Cormier perfect yelling at me and telling me what to do. So usually you'll have your coach or someone yelling and they have to just yell so crazy over someone else. But of course, the other five guys have their whatever coaches or whatever yelling too. I could literally make eye contact with Cormier. I could hear him, everything he was saying. So it actually helped me a lot. And I was able to at least hit all my poses. For the first time, I didn't hit any poses wrong. And that's usually something that I go back and I look through or everyone wants to knock me. Oh, you didn't hit this right. I nailed all my poses, but it was mostly just because he was standing right next to me practically.
Okay, bringing to posing, that's my next question. You won the best posing award, the money and the recognition. Not only that, you were out there with Arnold much longer than he was out there with any of the winners for sure. Now I don't know how close you are with Arnold. I know you've met him many times. Like, are you obviously he knows you. How close? How well do you know Arnold? Because I know when you were in Venice, you saw him almost regularly, right, at the gym.
Yeah, this is what I tell people is that I've known him my whole life. He even stayed at my house when I was a kid when he came to Chicago to film Red. I forgot what it was. He's like the cop and he was like with the Russians. Red Heat.
Raw deal.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, the Rat Warriors, the Russian cop. That was Red Heat.
Red something.
Red Heat with Jim Belushi. Yeah, yeah.
So, but this was the first time he's ever talking to me as me. And as I'm trying to explain it to people, because people keep asking me, like, oh my God, how was it? How was it with Arnold? I feel like my whole entire life, people are talking to me as my dad's son. And not only are they like looking at me like as my dad's son, but they're also just telling me stories about my dad, or they're telling me something, they're having to like, especially because he's passed away, people never want to tell you anything other than the good stories. So this was the first time he actually, because I got to talk to him a little bit before we walked out. And then that's, if you look, as we're walking out, we're still finishing that conversation. And the whole time, I'm just like trying to play it cool. Like this isn't a big deal, but I'm like, holy shit, this guy is literally just having a conversation with me about me, my career. My dad didn't come up. Once we got out and he got on the mic, then he did your dad stuff and all that, blah, blah, blah. But then even once we went back, he was just talking to me and about what he thinks I could do and how great he thinks I could be for the sport and blah, blah, blah. Because everyone knows he went through a little stint where he was bashing bodybuilding, telling Kai to hit the vacuum. And he does. He puts those little zings in there because he can't outright come forward and say that he doesn't like any of the winners and he thinks that there should be a change in the mandate. But he has been in a way. So I think with me, right, I was 280 on stage. I'm, almost 6 foot, but I'm not like Marcus Rule. So I feel like I could be the in between. I'm not a mass monster, but I'm also not like a Lee Labrada kind of or shorter person. So I really felt like when he was talking to me, he really felt like I was kind of like the best of both, as close as we're gonna get. And so it was cool. Like when he was talking to me, it was just different. And this is what's so crazy about this. I had all that planned. I've had that whole night planned. I can't even tell you how long, Ron. Probably since I was a kid. A few things maybe a little bit different. I actually didn't even think about having him do the victory pose until Cedric had him do his pose, But either way, that was years ago. So I've had this, in my head, like, man, I want to kill the show, do the posing routine, blah, blah, blah. But in the moment, I like lost it. It was like I had all of the things I wanted to talk about and I forgot about a bunch of them. And even when I'm telling him to do the pose, like I'm like shaking, I'm like scared, I'm like nervous. It was so weird that you can have that whole night plan and you literally can be living for it, your whole career. And then it happens and it still is just breathtaking. It still takes the air out of you, and just talking to him and rubbing shoulders with Arnold. It's just, I don't know. It really was so surreal. That's the best word I can use.
Well, just go back to that movie that you were in, Bigger, the Joe play your dad in that movie. Like, who else would they have gotten?
It was only because of Dan. Thank God for Dan Solomon and knowing me my whole entire career, because they had someone else they were going to have play him. And he's like, no, I have the right guy. And he called me up right away. It was so nuts. And then
show's over, fifth place, top 5 at the Arnold, improvements made, best poser. And now you're looking at Australia. we were all worried about Australia at that show. We're like, because this is supposed to go down. It was just a week away, right? It was a week later, 2 weeks later.
It's 2 weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks later. That's why we're saying, because things were getting bad then. That Arnold was probably like just the few drops of rain before the big storm.
Yeah. Barely, yeah.
Everyone barely got home from that. Okay, basically.
But going into the show, Dexter had called me. He's like, I'm not going. He called me way before. So, low key, I was like, I just moved up a spot. Bonac had already announced before Ohio he wasn't doing it. Right. And so this is another thing about bodybuilding that people, unless you go to shows, you're not going to understand. Sometimes you can put somebody in a lineup and it changes the whole dynamic of the lineup. Oh, so let's take the top three at Ohio. Yes, you have Kuklo now standing next to Big Ramy. If you put me in there, who I was more conditioned by far easily than Kuklo. So if you put me in there, it changes now your sight of seeing what's conditioned and what's not. And then also being 6 foot tall, it just changes everything up. But if you don't put me in there, then it's only looking at Dexter and Bonac. You're only looking at, Big Ramy and Kuklo. So I was really excited because now Bonac and Dexter are gone. Me and Ramy.
Kuklo was never going either. By that next morning, he said there's no way because he had a show in Michigan. Unfortunately, I bet that probably got canceled because you can't have a bunch of people together. He wasn't going. So it probably would have been, I think you and Ramy would have been the battle at the.
Ramy and Nathan, and I think that's a badass lineup, no matter what. Even if I take third out of those guys, like that's awesome. That's a great second show because usually the Arnold's a little bit weaker, and I would have been just as excited to watch that if I was a fan. But again, now it changes because I'm not as big as Ramy, but I'm bigger than, or at least taller than Dexter and Bonac. So me standing next to Ramy is a different look, and it just changes it up. So I really was excited. I was really excited to be able to stand next to him and see maybe I got better, maybe I can move up. And no matter what, that would have been top 2 at the Arnold in Australia. I would have taken that all day. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about when I was here, and I really was just hoping the show was going to go on because no matter what, I wasn't going to get 5th. I knew that.
Yeah, and like I said, like you said earlier, I feel the worst for Nathan, Blessing, and I'm sure there were a couple local pros from that area too that prepped just for that show. At least you and the other guys, you did your show, you did the big show in Columbus. This would have been nice, but it's not like you prepped for nothing. Geez, can you imagine like that 15 weeks of prep for nothing, man? Oh my God, because prep sucks.
And they were already, sometimes if you prep, like what are you doing? Like what's the worst thing you do? You take, like you can't go back from. You took fat burners, otherwise you really were just doing a lot of cardio, which is really good for your heart. You got really big, your receptors are really good. But once you start dropping water, no, you have to do a show. Because if you drop water just to not do a show, you only get so many of these spikes in your body. And people don't understand that you can, back in the day, they were like doing all these shows, they would do a circuit of shows and, Kermie would tell me about it, but they weren't getting that dry like that, how we are today. It's almost unhealthy dry how we're getting. Okay. So for you to do that.
Almost unhealthy.
Yeah, right. I have to say that.
I know. Okay.
But you're right. So they had already started the water process. They had absolutely already started dropping water. No matter what, they had to have. And then to turn around now for Nathan and Blessing, for them to now be like, okay, just kidding. Now you're getting this rebound for no reason. You got nothing out of it. And I don't believe that it's just a coincidence that Blessing and Neil had a falling out, and it had nothing to do with the show at all. Because let's say they did the show. They did really well. You're going to tell me they didn't work it out? They didn't work out whatever it was? Like if you just killed your first pro show, I don't care what argument you got into, you're going to do one more together. And this is just another example of sometimes can go wrong. It actually snowballs a bunch of other things that would have maybe never happened before. So I would love to find out the details, what happened between them, because I wasn't worried about Blessing. I'm worried about Neil. And that's what I was even telling everybody about him when he's going to do the show. I don't know what Blessing will ever do in the sport. I think he has a lot of potential. But whenever Aceto's doing someone's diet, Neil's doing someone's diet, you automatically have to have a certain amount of respect. You have to. And even if you don't believe in that athlete, I know there's been plenty of times I was it and Aceto made me into something. So I know that those guys can pull something out of them. So it was really nuts to do that. I would say the best thing that came out of this is for the first time in my life, in my career, I didn't snap back on anyone. All these interviews, Patrick, Akeem, I didn't make a post. I didn't do a clapback video because I knew I know bodybuilding. I know this sport. Ron, I don't know much. If you take bodybuilding out of me, I'm a loser. I don't
Dude,
know much.
I don't even know how to. I can change a car tire, but it would take me like all damn day. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
But it's true. This is but this I do know, and I was right to the T. And that's the best feeling ever, is that you don't have to say in this sport. If you know what you're talking about and you know who you are and you know how bodybuilding works, all you have to do is just do the show and everything will fall into place. I said in that interview that everybody was attacking me over, me, Cedric, and Kuklo were going to be fighting for 5th place. I said that. How the did that happen? I said Patrick isn't going to win the Arnold, and in fact, he's going to get a good placing, but if you talk about that you're going to win, it makes that place. So let's say Patrick never said, he did an interview saying, well, if Sergio wants to go in saying he's not going to win the Arnold, that's on him, but I'm not like that. Okay, well, now you would have went in and you would have got 10th at your first Arnold. That's amazing. That is an amazing lineup. 5 past Arnold champions and a Mr. Olympia, and you got top 10. Congratulations. But now you opened your mouth and said you're going to win. Now you just made your own placing look like. And that's exactly what I said, is don't go in hyping something up, and then when you do well, it seems worse because you have this thing in your head that you think Bonak's going to tap the brakes? Dexter's tapping the brakes? If anyone's ahead of you and they almost won the Mr. Olympia, I assure you, you're never going to leapfrog them your first time in a show. And I said all these things. And look, I was right. Everything I said I was going to do, I did. Everything I said everyone else was going to do, they did. You know, there was a couple people in behind. Max Charles, I thought he should have definitely placed a lot better. I would have loved to see him up there next to me, even if he beat me. You know, it's just good for bodybuilding. I'm so tired of seeing shows where you see these guys in the back and you know Max killed himself. You know, too, he told himself, I don't have so many more left of these. I'm going all out. And he did, and he still didn't get the respect he deserved. So there's a couple of things that maybe I would have liked to go a different way. But for the most part, I couldn't have been any more right. And, you know, and Akeem saying that I got beat so bad at the Olympia that I ran with my tail between my legs. No, Akeem. Actually, what I didn't want to do is I don't want to have a career like you, where you do the same shows over and over again. And yes, this was the best Akeem's ever looked. And backstage, he was struggling so hard, and you could tell he killed it. But still, if you do show after show after show and you don't take a break, you're not going to get better. So no one ran between their legs. In fact, now I have 2 businesses of my own. I don't have to work for a supplement company. I don't have to. And I did all that in the last 2 years, all while I put more muscle in this time off than he has in the last couple of years. So maybe we should stop attacking people that actually have a plan, when in fact, it actually turns around making them look worse. Because Akeem looked at me when he was in that first call out. He did a look back at me like, oh, I beat you. Guess what? Bodybuilding is more than just one call out. And I worked my way up, and I never stopped fighting. And now he moved 2 spots back. Yeah. So look, all the people that opened their mouth, finally for the first time, I didn't open my mouth. I didn't say anything. All I did was talk about math, adding 4 people at the Olympia, and after that, I never said anything. Everyone who opened their mouth did you know?
True. Yeah.
So this is proof that maybe sometimes we should just shut our mouth and we should just train, and you actually might do better. And no one's running with their tail between their legs, because I have only placed 1st or 2nd in every show, and then now I'm in the top 5 at the Arnold. So I think my tail looks pretty good in front of me.
Yeah, I messed that one up, as we know, back at the anyway. Moving on. Did you go to Sydney anyway? I'm sorry, Melbourne? Did you go to the show in Melbourne? You were there. Yeah. I saw pictures, right?
I was there until last week. I've been here for a week for this vacation, and then I just heard that I can't go back, so I just made my stay longer. So I'm going to stay here.
Oh, so so you were at the show, the Arnold Classic Australia, which there was no expo, right? Just like Columbus.
No, there was no expo. The whole show was canceled. And also, too, I would like to take this time to really talk about something we don't really care about, because we only care about the pros and the big guys and the big names. Yeah. Getting ready to win your pro card, sometimes you almost try harder than some of the pros do. Oh, and all these people that were trying to get their pro card, and this is something I always preach to people, because people get mad at me when I tell them, Americans should never do the Arnold. Americans don't win the Arnold.
I say that all the time, and people think I'm an asshole.
Right, exactly. They're always people who say the truth are always assholes, Ron. You know that. So, but exactly, Australia gets to make one person pro a year, not one per class, not one per show, one a whole year. And
God.
can you imagine getting ready for this? And then now that show's gone. It's completely different than like no matter what, I got paid. If I would have did Ohio or not, I'm still getting paid. I'm still sponsored. I still make my money. But when you're an amateur, you're making nothing. And you might have like what I did, you go all out. You empty your bank account, you go all in for a show with the hope that you're going to win this pro card and that's going to turn into something else. So they were going to cancel the amateur show here. And Tony Doherty on his own got together with, I'm sure a bunch of people were getting mad at him that he was doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. And he secretly put a show on just enough time. He didn't even release the location until the amount of time that once you did, because he was telling me and Josh and a bunch of people we can't post the location. And then once we did, the amount of time it would have taken for them to bust it, the show would have been done. And he literally only did that for all of these amateurs who knows what would have happened if they didn't get to do this show. You know, that might have been their last go. And then they would have quit. Then they maybe would have went back to school, went back to working their job, and never would have tried to be a pro ever again. And we put that show on. Not we, but in Australia, they put the show on. So I was at that show.
So wait, it was not at the original location it was supposed to be at. It was really like, where was it?
It was like a secret warehouse.
Really? Holy
It was
crap.
so,
It was
it was
on
so,
because I didn't watch the pay-per-view, but because it's middle of the damn night or whatever. But
the
yeah, he pulled it
stage,
off. He put it on
yeah,
pay-per-view.
the stage looked like it was a professional stage. It looked like
It
they had
did.
it there every year, right? It was so
Wow.
cool. Yeah, they killed it. And if you would have went backstage, you would have seen they were on top of being clean. Like they were for sure on everything. Everybody was like working it in a really clean, safe way. So it wasn't just like a normal show. You could tell everybody was like doing things a little bit different, and it was like a different procedure. But they got the show on, and they were able to give those pro cards out. You know, one to men's physique, bodybuilding, figure, fitness, and bikini. And now all of those people are going to remember that they almost didn't even get that chance, and now they did. And it's just proof that this sport, we always take care of each other, and it's not just about money, and it's not just about sponsors and expos and stuff like that. There are a few people in this sport that actually understand what we do to go through these like because you have to be crazy. You have to be fucking crazy to be a bodybuilder, especially an amateur. An amateur, you're making no money. Thanks to Trey Brewer, he has ruined any amateur contract. People don't even know who he is. This guy's making like $200,000 and never even got his pro card. And because of him, no amateurs have contracts anymore. So you're doing this like a college athlete playing football. You're doing it for free, and people do understand that. And like Tony, you know, he went above and beyond, and he lost a ton of money. He lost so much money, like everybody did. But it was really cool to be out here and be a part of that. So that was really cool, and that was in Melbourne.
Yeah, and I want to back up because before any promoters or anybody gets mad at me, when I tell people I tell Americans not to do the Arnold Amateur, the Olympia Amateur, and it's not because they're very well run shows. They're great shows. Don't get me wrong, guys, but these are guys coming to me that have never even made top 10 at like the Nationals or the USA or North American, and they think somehow this is going to be an easy show. I'll do the Arnold Amateur. I'm like, dude, you're going to be, what are you, a heavyweight? You're going to be up there with, you know, the best heavyweight from all these countries where it's almost impossible to turn pro. Australia, Malaysia, for Kuwait, whatever. You're going to get eaten for lunch, dude. I'm sorry to tell you, because they bring the condition. Like you said, these amateurs, especially those countries where it's like life and death for them to turn pro. They bring condition like not better than most pros ever do. And yeah, if you're a B, you're a B level. You're like a third call out national level guy from the U.S. Dude. Either get better and come back and do it, or stay in your lane. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is going on? What are your plans? I mean, everyone plans for everything are pretty much up in the air for, damn, this entire world. But what are you thinking for the next, I don't know, month?
I know because now off points off of Ohio, I'm not qualified for the Olympia,
Right.
But if there's no other shows, then I am qualified. So I don't know. It's like, it's kind of weird. Like I'm low key kind of hoping that there's no more shows. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, even if this picks up, and I don't know when, they're saying like May 10th, but that's very, very
It's
wishful
definitely
thinking.
not. Right. It's definitely not
So
May 10th. They can come up with a cure tomorrow. It's not going to be May 10th.
so let's say the Olympia isn't affected by this. The Olympia still happens. Let's hope. But maybe there's only like 3 shows or 4 shows before the Olympia where anybody else can possibly qualify. They're going to change the qualification, the point standings this one time to accommodate that. They have to, or else we're going to have like 8 guys in the Olympia. So
Yeah, I think
it
it's
might
either.
be top five from the Arnold, top five from last year's Olympia, winners, top two from every other show. They're going to have to do something to keep things kind of normal.
But then here's my question: is okay. So now let's say it gets brought back on in June. Now we just missed the New York Pro and Pittsburgh and all these shows that are ran by the bosses of this sport. You're telling me now there's just not going to be a New York Pro, and just because it happens to be that the Tampa's in August, it's on? No, I feel like these people are going to want their shows. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way that we're going to do a year without the New York Pro. I feel like they're going to probably just push it back, and then that show pushes that back. So we're either going to have 4 pro shows in 1 month, or the Olympia's not going to be in September.
Or, yeah, if they change, this is another this is conspiracy theory number 3. They still have the shows start up again whenever, and there's not that many of them. They postpone them, like say New York Pro, like New York is going through some shit right now, and it's going to get a lot worse. New York State they have 10 times more cases than California. Do you know that?
Right. Yeah, I just saw today. Right.
That's insane. So it's possible, I think, that after the Olympia, we could have like another 12 pro shows going all the way to like Christmas, basically. It could happen. Who knows?
I'll tell you this, for people that don't really know how the sport wins, they make money from these shows. And I guarantee you these bosses of the sport are not going to take this cut. They're not going to not make money. This is how they make money. And some of these shows are so prestigious, I feel like you can't even have an Olympia unless you have a New York Pro winner. Like certain shows, and then even the Pittsburgh shows. Pittsburgh's so huge for so many people that are even on the amateur level. I find it very hard to believe that all of a sudden people are just gonna be like, we'll just make our money next year. Bullshit. There's no way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you're a show promoter and you have like 3 big shows a year, and that's where you make 90% of all your money for the year, you're really going to give up 2 of those shows? Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. Yeah, they've already rescheduled a few things, or they're wishful. Like the Boston Pro Show, this is the first year show. That's still set for June 20th. But the amateur show that Cutler and Steve do in April, they rescheduled that for a week later. I think we're going to see a lot of rescheduling, but the problem is you can't really reschedule anything with any confidence now. It's a wait and see. The whole world is basically on pause right now. We have to wait and see what's going on. Man,
Yeah.
this is.
But the hard part is it's not like the shows are just postponed and gyms are open and life is regular, because then you should just be working out. You should be dieting, except for Canada, UK, those people. Except for them, everyone's not working out. And then what are you doing?
UK's locked down right now for sure. They're on full lockdown.
I see Luke and Holland working out.
There's people in California working out that have little private gyms and stuff. It can be done, or if you own a gym, you got the key. You can walk in there and train whenever. Yeah, there's violators out there for sure.
Right, there's a few, but for the most part, right, we're not supposed to even be working out. We don't even have access to that. So then we would have to, okay, so now we announce June, July, it's back on. So now it's not like I'm going to start my prep because you've been working out. You have to get back into the gym. Because if you're doing a private gym, that's not in the gym. That's just maintaining. There's no way you're getting better. I mean, unless you have some sick ass, like Flex Lewis gym. Otherwise, no. Right, but that's rare. That's not happening. So then you're giving these guys time to even get back in the gym and get accoladed to even training. It's just such a clusterfuck that it's so hard now that you just have no idea. Because let's say they turn the shows back on. I'm working out in these little garage gyms and wherever I can find stuff. There's no way that I'm gonna be better. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
People. I mean, it's a unique sport. I don't know how many. If you're playing some other sport, you can keep up your skills and abilities and stuff. But pro bodybuilder can't go to the gym for let's hopefully it's not going to be like 2 or 3 months. Can you imagine 200 someone your size who couldn't have access to a real gym for 3-4 months? Man, it would just be rough because people. I'm losing it, dude. I'm losing it.
What they look like. I mean, look at the Ohio amateurs after they were canceled, back on, canceled, back on. Unfortunately, every amateur probably already broke. You're already such on the brink of, you're already going to quit, that as soon as Ohio was like, amateurs, because they told them the amateurs were canceled first. They weren't going to do anything. How many of them ate? Ron, probably all of them, and then it's back on. Then it was canceled, and then it was back on but no audience. They looked like shit, you know. So then, but that's okay, you know. It was for the what happened, whatever. That's fine. But are you really gonna have the Chicago Pro, this Boston show for the first time, and everyone just kind of looks like we just got in the gym the last 4 months, you know? Like I don't know.
4 weeks. Yeah, like I'm saying, if you're in prep right now, there were a lot of guys who were in prep for shows like Indie Pro, and there's only been a couple shows so far that have been canceled, or definitely not happening. They're gonna have to be postponed. But yeah, what do you do as a guy who's halfway through your prep, and you're prepping for a show that's May 4th, and now hopefully we're gonna have it on June 20th, but who knows? Just mentally, how could you every day go in the gym, stick to your diet, do your cardio, not knowing for sure if that day is going to happen, or if you're going to be wasting all your time and money? Because prep is expensive, as you know, very, very expensive. Yeah, I mean, everyone in the world's going through some difficulties. I think 30% of America is unemployed right now. We got unemployment. The record for unemployment filings was, I think, broken the other day, and this is probably the least of anyone's worries. Oh no, the poor pro bodybuilders can't work out and do their shows. But this is your job. These people losing their jobs. You guys are losing income too.
You're right.
Especially the new guys who are really counting on these smaller shows where they could make a mark and start making their way up the ladder. Now it's all on hold.
I just keep telling myself, and everybody else should remember this too out there. We prep for shows. I prepped for 19 weeks for the Arnold. You know, let's say they canceled it right before. Oh my God, 5 months, all that for nothing. Imagine prepping for the fucking Olympics for 4 years, and now you have to wait another year. That's nothing, you know. So like, it's so crazy that we're like, oh my God, bodybuilding. All these Olympic athletes now have been training for years for something. All the qualifiers they've been doing, traveling left and right. They've already been competing. They've already been doing all the local shows to get to the Olympics, to stay fresh. Now to say it's next year. And that's not even for sure. Who knows what's going to be on next year in what countries, you know? So, I mean, we just have to remind ourselves, like, man, everyone's going through it, but we still need to salvage it. Like, that doesn't mean that we just need to be like, oh, well, everyone's going through shit, so bodybuilding doesn't matter. There's so many people that are trying to do something more than just wake up, do their 9 to 5 and go home. Bodybuilders are nuts because they're doing all those things and then still wanting to upgrade. They're wanting to be better. They're wanting to achieve something not many have done. So sometimes, man, it's just such a stab in your back. Like when you're just like, you're trying to be something great, because that's what all bodybuilders are. They're not trying to just go to work. They're not trying to clock in, get paid hourly, and then go home. You're trying to achieve something not a lot of people have done, and then to kind of let the air out of you. Not many people can come back, you know. And I know that firsthand too, because people now all of a sudden want to post the interview I did with Sean Ray before New York Pro, where I was talking about how I got into a car accident. I was walking to the gym. I didn't have money. I bought a one-way ticket to New York. If I hadn't won New York, or even got like top 2 or 3, I would have had to gone back to school. I would have had to gone back to work. I don't have that choice. So would all this Arnold and all this that just happened even happen? I don't think so. So sometimes it's really hard for people to get the air taken out of them, and they still turn around, turn the other cheek, and then still go at it. There's not everyone's going to do that. We're going to lose a lot of bodybuilders through this period, because they're going to lose finances, and they're going to lose just even mental stability.
Yeah. Let's try to end on a positive note, of course. Anything you want to talk about your new businesses at all? Let everyone know what you're up to.
I mean, everything's the same. You know, Cosmic Industries is doing really good. Of course, we took a big loss because we were going to launch at the Expo in Ohio. But again, so did everybody else. Luckily, I lost like 8 to 10 grand, not 150,000, like, you know, that some of these booths were spending that are ridiculous amounts. Right. So it's doing really well. Of course, nobody wants to buy anything now. You know, no one's spending money. But Victory did really well during the Arnold. It's still doing really well. That was really cool. But no, I'm thankful that I did that show. I'm out here and I'm just trying to enjoy relaxing, because my body is beat. I posted on my story my body after the posing routine. That's just something people don't know. Dragging your legs on the carpet and being 280 pounds, switching from one knee to the other, man, I was beaten, you know. And even getting ready for Australia, I had both my legs in ice buckets and just trying to ice, and then trying to get all my scabs all healed up. They're still really gross. They're so nasty.
You had a lot of lunging poses in that routine in the early part.
Way
I was
too
like,
many.
when's he going to stand up, for God's sake?
But you know what? That routine could have went so much bad. I made a post about it, and I was telling people that it was just, it's so crazy. I do a routine every show. I've done a routine since I've been a novice. No matter what, I'm going to do a routine. And that's what I was saying about like Terrence Ruffin and a few of us. We're going to do this anyway. So that was just the easiest money I've ever won before. But at the Arnold, it was so much different. Watching, knowing that it's live stream, knowing that it's the Arnold, one of the most, ridiculous shows that you can compete in. I almost fell down the stairs because I don't know why I thought, all right, I'm nervous. I'm having anxiety. And then they told us at the last minute, you're going to come in through the back. We didn't know that. So then here I am, I'm already going through enough. Let me add more stress. And now I'm going to try and pose in front of the statue, which I saw that there were steps, but because the statue's base comes out, it takes up half of that step. So when I went down to go on a knee, I realized there's like just enough for my knee, like literally my kneecap. And I almost fall down the stairs. So that show could have went completely wrong. Because if I would have fell down the stairs, they wouldn't have given me the best poser award. That was such an embarrassment. And then I could have went from the highlight of the Arnold to one of the biggest jokes ever. So I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad everything went the way it did. And I'm really grateful that I was able to show what I already knew. I already knew what I'm capable of. I really wanted to, not even to show the world or the haters, I really don't even care about that. I wanted to show the people like you and Cormier, people that have been sticking up for me for a while now. I see people arguing with other people online because they know I have this potential, I can do it, but I just never really did it. I never nailed it. So I really wanted to do it for all the people. So now, not for me to walk around with my and for all of my fans and my friends that can walk around and be like, I told you so. Ron, you've done it. You've done it since the Arnold. I know you've said to at least somebody, I was right.
Of course.
I love that. I don't even say that. I mean, this is the first time I'm doing the interview where I said, man, I nailed it, and I called everything. But that's the first time I've said it since the Arnold. I want people that had my back to walk around and be like, you, I told you so, and I love that. So that's been the highlight for me, is that we were all right.
Yeah, no, it's good to be right, because I'm wrong a lot. So when I'm rare on the more rare occasions, I nail it. I don't rub it in anyone's face, but I'm like, haha, I told you, told you he was going to be up there, told you he'd be up, because I was telling everyone you were going to be first call out, and then after the judging, like, ha, you idiot, he wasn't first call out. Ha, I told you he sucked. I said, just hold on.
Sean Ray was talking shit to Cormier and in prejudging, because Cormier was sitting at one of the seats at prejudging, and then he got up to come help me backstage. And then when he went back, Sean Ray was sitting in that seat. Cormier is such a savage. He just sits down on Sean Ray. He's like, you, if you're not going to move out of my seat, I'm literally going to sit on your leg. And it was so funny because now I'm looking at them. I'm like, I'm trying to be in my relax. I'm like, is that Cormier sitting on Sean Ray's lap? And while I was up there, Sean's saying to Chris, he's like, man, your boy better be lucky if he gets 7th. And in that instance, Cormier's like, you're out of your mind. He's getting top 5 easily, and that's what I love. I love like that someone can be so confident in me and my abilities that they can even talk to someone else. So that was probably the highlight of Sean Ray looking like a fool.
I don't know how I missed that, because I think they were like 4 seats to my left, but I think I was just focused on what was in front of me.
Yeah,
I kind of wish I'd seen that now. Oh well.
We needed a picture of it. That would have been so funny.
I mean, then at the finals for the pose down, the best part of the pose down where everyone came out in the audience, did you see what Cedric did?
No,
When everyone came off stage, he hit like one pose, and then he saw Brandon Curry had gotten up to go to the bathroom. He plopped down in Brandon's seat in his posing trunks and just sat there for a good 2 or 3 minutes doing nothing while everyone else ran around posing. He said, I'm tired. And then when Brandon came back, he got out of the seat and let Brandon sit down, and he started posing again. That was hilarious. Cedric's a character. So.
Yeah, no, he definitely is a character. When he was in the first call out, now they're doing their back poses, and I was stunned. I was stunned that I wasn't in that first call out. So I'm standing there, and my face must have looked like I lost my dog. He's now talking to me as he's hitting poses. I hear this. He goes, Psst, hey, and I'm not even looking, because I'm like, there's no way he's talking to me. And I look up, he's talking to me. Now has a full conversation. Then I backed up a by. He's like, hey kid, what are you doing? And he's talking to me. And I thought it was so funny, but it reminded me too, like, you don't have to take this so serious that you're now stressing yourself out. I'm never going to be like Cedric. I'm never going to be having a conversation with someone while I'm hitting the point.
That's
That
awesome.
that is next level. But I get so serious about this because this is my life. And literally, it's only life I have. And sometimes I make myself sick, stressing myself out. And I need to be somewhere in between Cedric and the serious me. And exactly, that's the kind of character he is, that he just doesn't let shit phase him.
Yeah, we should all be so. I don't know. We should all look at life the way he does. Take it with a little grain of salt. But man,
Right.
man, I've been taking up almost an hour of your time, dude. So thank you so much. I'm happy that you're in a nice sunny place. Got some a good gym to go to. Yeah, was that? Oh my God, is that? I thought that was a painting when we first started talking. Like that's a cool painting of some awesome beach, but no, that's real life. Wow. So
Yeah.
man, enjoy your time there. Stay safe. Keep having great workouts. I'm sure chicken is easier to get over there right now.
Yeah.
Lysol, disinfectant wipes, all that crap. So man, yeah, wishing you the best, and let's wish the world the best for this next couple weeks. Going to be critical, especially with the
Yeah.
USA. So
But
hope
yeah,
everything's
thanks again. I know I said this when we were at the meet and greet. I just wanted to thank you again for being real. It's very easy to make mistakes in this and just kind of like push it under the rug and kind of hope nobody notices. But you making an apology video, that's unheard of. And even Aceto and Cormier even said something about that. Because when I told Aceto, he's the team. They're
right.
never going to say anything good about muscular development. Even he was like, Ron did that? And he posted it. So it was very great, and I appreciate it too. But also more in general, just having my back, when I'm not around and stuff like that, and sticking up for me. But I just wanted to say that doesn't mean anything's changed. I'm gonna still be working on everything because I have a lot of improvements to make,
Yeah.
and this has only fueled that fire even more because now I believe in myself even more. So thank you, Ron. I appreciate it, and MD.
So for next show, a little more upper chest, okay?
Exactly.
I like what you did here. A little more here. I want to see a little more shelf, and I want to see you drop those lats a little, and then we're golden, dude. That's it. That's
That's
all I
it.
want to see. Yeah. Then
Well,
you're
that's how
done.
you know. That's why I always say, when someone's a good bodybuilder, when you can name one or two things they need to work on, rather than all of it.
Yeah. You need 40 pounds, kid. Talk to me. Come back to me in 3 years. Let's see how you
Yeah.
did. No, yeah, you're on your way. You're not at your final form yet, but you're well on your way. Cool, man.
Thanks.
Good night. What is it? What day? What's it like next week over there?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's a day.
Future
It's
over
a
here.
full.
I'll let you know what happens with Corona in the future.
Yeah. Well, we'll all be monitoring the news, of course. But yeah, hope when you come back here to the U.S., everything's as close to normal as it can be. Gyms
Yeah.
gyms open.
Stay safe, Ron. You're in the heat of it for real.
Yeah. We're all quarantined here. We're all on lockdown. So yeah,
Tell your
this is
tell your wife I'm down to go to Cuba too if we just want to get out of here. Just go over there.
dude. Cuba just sent a whole bunch of doctors over to Italy. That's how cool Cuba is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I saw that.
Those people have heart, man. They really do. So, all
Mhm.
right, man. Sergio Oliva Jr., stay safe, man. Great talking to you. Appreciate you taking the time. Everybody, thanks for watching Ronline Report with Sergio. You haven't seen the last of him, and keep watching for more and more updates from the world of bodybuilding. Take it easy, guys.